Welcome to Streams of Income, hosted by best-selling author and entrepreneur Dr. David Powers, where we discuss streams of income, passive income, residual income, and even why there are dinosaurs and zombies in this intro. Fasten your seatbelts and get ready to dive in.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Streams of Income podcast. I'm glad you're here, and I am with Charles Alexander today, and we're going to have some fun talking. And before we start, though, I want to excuse my voice. The weather, temperature's changing here. It's the second or the third false fall here in the South, and so it messes with my voice.
Dude, where are you?
I'm in South Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah, where are you at?
Yes, I'm in Tennessee. So for anybody listening, this is what we all sound like right now collectively. Every morning I get up, I look like I have been beaten to, I look like I've been in a fight.
Yep. Sinuses and everything else. It's like the temperature changes and it kicks off something in the trees and it messes me up.
Yeah, as well it should.
Yeah. Now, are you in the Nashville area like a lot of our friends?
Just north of.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's good to have you on here. We've had some other good Nashville folks on, and I was born in Tennessee, so love anything from coming around to Tennessee.
Hey, man, we do good things.
Yeah, yep. So, Charles, tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
All right, I'll make it really simple. I've been a one-on-one business coach for 18 years. I've worked with over 2,400 entrepreneurs to grow, get their life back, succeed, sustain, even start businesses. I am an author. I've got my own podcast, do more by doing less. But the reason David and I know each other is because I am building a membership and trying to be as cool as he is. And my membership is Time Freedom Community. Working with a lot of the same folks, I think, that are probably your listeners in helping have a community helping entrepreneurs work on the business instead of in it, so they can actually spend some time doing other things they love, like, travel, family, friends, that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. So before I forget, what is the best place to get in touch with everything you do?
We'll make it super simple. Give you one-stop shop. Go to yourcharlesalexander.com. And from there, you can find me a variety of different places. I hang out on LinkedIn most often. However, that's the easiest place. You can schedule a time to chat. No sales pitches. Just see what you're up to, and that's by far the easiest way.
All right, sounds good. So tell us about what do people get in touch with you for usually? Like, do they come to you with a certain type of problem usually, Or what happens there?
So the biggest issue I try to help people solve is to quit wearing busy as a badge of honor. And I work with a ton of entrepreneurs, busy professionals. And David, I'm sure if I were to ask you this, hey man, what you been up to? You'd say, I've just been so busy, right? And we get really excited for that. But when I start talking to people about how many hours they're working on their business, with their business, I'm checking email at 9 p.m. I am on the weekends. I got the laptop open during the soccer game. I tried to take the spouse out on a date, rescheduled it 3 times. And when we finally did get it scheduled, all we talked about was my, web design business, my landscaping business. And I was on the phone the entire time. So my goal is to help people reduce their workload. Ideally, David, everybody I work with, the long-term promise is that they can save up to 5 to 8 hours every single week. And when I say 5, it's a bare minimum, 1 per day. Most of the folks I deal with are trying to work a 5-day work week. I've got it down to 5-day work week. But then even then, how do I shave an hour off of every day? And it's not, it's some of what you think with productivity and tips and tricks, but a lot of it's just a few foundational changes. And then once you start doing that, everything else kind of starts falling into place.
Yeah, definitely. 5 to 8 hours, that's a full work day every week.
Dude, and I'm telling you, and sometimes when I ask people, what would you do? So let's back up. The first question I always ask, and I had to learn how to do this the hard way, man. My God, I know everybody's got their entrepreneurial journey, and here's the moment that changed everything. But look, I'll make it short and sweet. Like during COVID, while we were in lockdown and I'm at home trying to help entrepreneurs figure out how to, if they can open, when they can open, how do they keep their employees, all this SBA loan nonsense. We also became homeschool parents. And if you're already a homeschool parent, you think that's nothing. But for us who aren't, we were totally unprepared. And I remember one specific day, dude, I'm sitting there, I'm locked in, I'm laser focused. I got my checklist, and one by one, the kids start knocking on the door. The oldest one is like crying because she can't figure out this thing called Google Classroom. I had never heard of Google Classroom, so we got her logged in, shut the door. And then the next one comes in. Her iPad won't work. David, her iPad won't work because the damn thing's dead because you hadn't had it plugged in. So we plug it in. Now it works. And then finally, my first grader walks in and he says, Daddy, what's Zoom? I'm like, I don't know why you need to know what Zoom is. So I logged him in. The funniest thing I've ever seen in my life is 20 first graders on Zoom for the first time. Dude, all you see was like the tops of kids' heads and leaned over here. You got the dog. Either way, I shut the door, lock it. Nobody else can interrupt me. And I spent all day on this checklist, and I bounced from LinkedIn to the SBA site to a video I just saw somewhere to a text message back to LinkedIn. Dude, as soon as I would start working on something, I didn't need the kids to interrupt me. You know who the best person was at interrupting me?
Probably you. Yep.
All day, man. I was great at it. Yeah. And I was also reading Deep Work by Cal Newport at the same time. Highly recommend. I was rereading. I was writing all in the margins, and I realized everything I'd ever taught about time management was completely backwards. All of that to say, the thing that I tell people before you do anything else, you got to sit down and set some goals. And I don't mean I'm not telling you to set a big monetary goal. Like, what do you want your week to look like? Like, seriously, what days do you want to work in your business? And what do you want to do with the time that you're not in the business? Now, if your immediate answers, David, I just love what I do, and I just love working all the time, and me and the business are one and the same, then this ain't for you. I'm not working with that person. I get it. We all love what we do. We all see it as a mission. We've all rationalized how we're changing the world. Great. But I have a family to raise. They're 16, 14, and 12. I have a wife. I want to see them. What do you want that work week to look like? And then that other important thing is, if you have some additional free time, what would you do with it? So let me ask you, Dr. David Powers, if I were to let you ask you to make a list and tell you I freed up 5 hours, 8 hours, what would you do with that time?
Man, I'd be outside hiking, biking, something like that.
And that is a surprisingly, I don't know if that's a Southern answer or what, but that's always at the top. I want to go hiking. And I think from what little bit you and I got to know each other, you probably do go hiking. I think most people just like the idea of hiking, but that's the point, right? I want to go buy some Timberlands and get the cargo shorts and the little funny little backpack that's got the straw out of my mouth, right?
Oh, man, I hate those.
Dude, it looks terrible. Whatever. But, I get people that want to exercise, see friends, volunteer, do more at the church, spend time with family. I have people that just say sleep. I want to do this 8-hour sleep thing I've heard so much of. So either way, once you start making those tangible, like really tangible, then the rest of it can start coming into place. But if we don't have the answer to that, dude, I'm telling you, I have helped people create a 4-day work week. Like, they don't work on Fridays. And then I made the mistake of not staying on top of them. And then I would follow up 3 or 4 months later. And you know what they did? They backfilled it with more stuff to do because they didn't have this list. They didn't know what to do with their free time. So either way, you asked, well, kind of who I'm helping, why I'm helping, how. That's, if you can start answering some of those questions, then I can start teaching people how to save 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a week.
Yeah. Yep. That sounds pretty good. I mean, because I've kind of built a life like that where I've got certain non-negotiables that I put in my schedule. Like we homeschool too. I'm a homeschool dad of 5, and but we did it from day one, so it's probably easier.
You knew a Google Classroom was, yeah.
Oh man, yeah. But we have an adventure day once a week, and so at least half the day we're at the lake because it's warm right now. Like this morning, we went rafting, and or we go biking or go bowling, whatever. and certain things like that that go into my schedule that transcend work.
Yeah. Yeah. And that makes a huge difference for you. And that's your priority. So one of the next steps I do when I try to help somebody figure out how to find that 5 hours or 8 hours, the first thing you got to do is figure out where their time is currently being spent. And most folks don't have a clue. So you and I had talked about Dave Ramsey before we hopped on here. That's always like the first thing, isn't it? Because they, and Dave, after whatever's now 25, 30 years, you can hear the frustration in his voice when the caller rings in and says, well, Dave, now here, we want to take credit cards and we're going to pay off the other credit cards and then we're going to refinance. And he loses his mind. Then he always has to take them through the baby steps. One of those baby steps is a budget. Every dollar has a purpose, right? But every minute and every hour has a purpose. So I help folks. I've got some, if you'll reach out to me directly, folks, I've got some spreadsheets, and I know spreadsheets are boring, but whatever tool you want to use, Clockify, Toggle, or even write it down. If you'll start tracking for a few days, I got one client right now that's working on this, and she said it's been a huge eye opener. Track what you're doing every day for a few days in a row. And then you'll start to really clearly see where your time is going. Another really easy tool, David, is on the little magic pocket tool we all have. Is I generally will ask people to share their screen time with me, and it's funny. People like turn into teenagers; they don't want any part of it. But when people are telling you they don't have time, it's not Gen Z, it's not the kids. I'm telling you, dude, Gen Xers and Boomers. Man, we're on this thing 5, 6, 7 hours a day.
Oh, yeah.
It's bad.
You know what I found with boomers more and more is they'll say they're not on the phone that much, but when they go to the bathroom, their bathroom stops have doubled and tripled and quadrupled because they just sit there in their own fill, just playing on the phone.
Dude, sorry, folks, I'm going to do this quick side story. Terrible story, too. A few years back, my wife had a friend of hers pass away. She was only like mid-40s, and it was terrible. And we were all at the funeral home, and I remember going in the bathroom. And it was right before the funeral started, and a boomer. And I say boomer, he's an older fella. He looked like a great guy. He had a Bible under his arm. He was ready for the funeral. And he comes in, and in the other hand, he's got his phone. I don't even know. He's standing next to the urinal. I have no idea how he's Houdini'd his way through this. Walks straight out, doesn't wash his hands, never takes his eyes off the phone. And I go back in, and I'm going to go tell my wife, like, oh, you ain't gonna believe what happened. I saw this guy. And then I saw him walk by me, walk past the front, and then walk straight up. That was a preacher doing the service, dude.
Yeah.
So either way, sorry, folks, that was a gross and sad story, but it proves the point. We love our digital devices. Yep. So I tell folks, back to what you were talking about, finding that priority. If you don't know where you're spending your time, you can't identify the priorities. So go back, figure out where your time is being spent, and then it's simple. You have a list. Look at the list and look at the top 3 to 4 things that if I do really well, that make everything else fall into place. And for a lot of people I have been talking to right now, their life looks like 2 things they are struggling with. One of them is time, which is what I help with. And the other one is just, pipeline, leads, sales, clients. So figure out do I need to be doing more offers? Do I need to be not just creating content, but do I need to be following up after the content? Do I need to be getting in front of more people? If that's a priority, then great. We have to identify it. And then, a few other things that we need to do, but then that leaves, a list of probably other 30 or 40 things we're trying to accomplish in a day. But if we know what the priorities are, well, then we can put them on the calendar at the time that best matches our energy to accomplish those.
Yeah. Hey, have you ever read the book, The One Thing? I
have read the book, Gary Keller, correct? Yeah. Yep. Dude, yeah. Thank you for bringing that because nobody has the one thing. Everybody has the 50 thing, but that's right. You identify that one thing that if I do it, that make not to take you to church here, but when in the New Testament, when the Pharisees are trying to trick Jesus, they say, well, which of the commandments are the most important? And they don't really care. They just know whatever one he says, and they can say, well, he doesn't believe in the other ones. But he dumbed it down and said, don't put any other God before me and love your neighbor as yourself. Well, if you do that, you're not going to lie, cheat, steal, covet thy neighbor's oxen. All of that goes out the window.
Yep.
So anyways, but find out what the priorities are. Put them on and it's important that you put them on the calendar and actually follow through with it and do them when you do it when you have the energy to do that task. And I mentioned that without really going into detail. When is your best energy of the day, David?
Me, between 2 and 4.
Okay, perfect. So first thing in the morning is not the right time for you to do a lot of creative tasks then, right?
No, that's the checking email, putting the paperwork away kind of time for me.
Okay. So if your peak energy is at 2 to 4, which by the way, I'll go ahead and tell you that makes you a unicorn because most folks about 2 o'clock are hitting crash mode. And that's, but that's why it's important that you know, kind of, your own personality. So at 2 to 4 is when David needs to be maybe creating that piece of content that is thoughtful and can be reused over and over. Yeah. And that may be when he needs to do, and I won't call them sales calls, research calls, whatever they are, meetings and greetings with other people that he wants to become, a member in a community that he has, or yep. in another way that he can help. The way I've always described it, me personally, I'm like two different people. I'm like morning Charles and afternoon Chuck. So morning Charles, he has all the energy. Like this dude, he hops straight out of bed and he makes a green smoothie and he tells the other people in his house that they got to hustle and get after it. And then he thinks and creates and all that. But about 1 or 2 o'clock, when you're hitting your stride, I'm going downhill. And that's when I stack all of my email and administrative tasks. So put your 3 to 4 things on the calendar when you have the best energy to do them. And then everything else either has to be batched, automated, delegated, or my favorite thing, eliminated.
Yeah. Yep. And you can probably eliminate a heck of a lot more than you think you can. And the world will still go round and round.
Hey, the trick to that one, David, is to tell people to run an experiment. People don't like permanent change. We freak out over that idea. But if I tell you, email's a great one. I'm not telling you eliminate email, but we check email 2.5 hours every day, just in that dumb little email box. And that's not our priorities. That's everybody. Hey, that is a priority system that everybody else can just throw at you. So what I tell folks is eliminate checking email more than twice a day and check it at, right after lunch and then right before you shut down for the day. And I know some folks don't shut down at all, so that's a problem to them. But let's say your days, shut it down at 4. Check it twice a day. Try it for 1 week. And if you don't like it, you can always go back. We'll go back to that Dave Ramsey theory. Like people will want to argue with him about smart math and paying off house and this, that, and the other. He's like, look, you pay off your house and you think, oh, this sucks, I don't like it. You can always go get a mortgage. Somebody will refinance that house for you. So same concept. Try an experiment for 1 week and eliminate. The other things that I've eliminated, and I hope this doesn't hurt anybody's feelings, but I quit watching the news about 6 years ago.
Oh yeah. That was a big one for me. I would get so caught up in the negativity of it.
Well, just the amount of information that we take in. I mean, we are inundated with thousands and thousands and thousands of bits of information that our brains, even though our brains are, more powerful than any complete blah, 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 but we weren't designed to take in this much information. And I know people, they wake up, the news is on, they get in the car, they turn the news on, they, their phone is up, notification. And me eliminating the news does not mean I don't know what's happening in the world, because if it is important enough, it finds its way to me. I know Cracker Barrel changed his logo and reverted back already. Why? Because I guess it was important and people kept telling me. I didn't have to Google it. I didn't have to go to AP News and figure it out. So that's another one. Experiment by turning the news off for a week and, limit. There's a ton of things on your list you can eliminate. Get rid of them.
Yeah. I'm bad to get FOMO. And so I used to answer my phone. If it rang, I would answer it. But I don't know, about 15 years ago, if a name didn't show up, I wouldn't answer my phone. And in 15 years, I've only missed one important call. All the rest of them I could call back or they would text me. Yeah.
And that model, that is called the any benefit model, is when somebody will use that one missed call as an excuse to never do it again, because they'll have a story about, I missed this one call. and this one call could have, whatever yours was, it was a customer, a medical event, a death in the family, whatever it was. And what we don't understand is the trade-off. So for you choosing not to pick up the phone when you saw that it was an unknown number, you have probably saved not just hours, but days and weeks, maybe even months of your life. I tell you what, I'll go back and give people this kind of analogy, or not analogy, this little bit of math that I did. So the average person is on their phone 5 hours a day. If you got it down to 2, which quite frankly that's the length of a movie. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not even an Adam Sandler movie. That's a long movie. If you eliminated 3 hours, the math says that you would gain 2 months back every year. Wow. That's assuming you sleep 8 hours a day, which means every 6 years, and we've had phones about 12 years, I think. Every 6 years, that's 1 whole year. So 2 years since the space phones have been here, we've been doing. So when people say, but I might miss something, let's say, that's cool. So here's the trade-off. To get that one call, that means for 1 year out of the past 6, you had to be staring mindlessly into the device. If a genie came and offered you, say, hey, would you like an important call? Yes, I need my important call. Cool, I just need a year of your life. You'd probably say, that's cool. I don't want to make that trade. But we do it all of the time for the same reason you just said, FOMO. It's the any benefit model.
Yep. Hey, I'll tell you what, something you would probably know is I keep hearing that, and I've never looked it up, but an interruption. I keep like a 30-second interruption with claims 15 minutes to a half hour of your day because you got to get your mind back on it.
23 minutes. Gloria Martin did that research. She started that back in the early 2000s from UC Irvine. I don't know, one of those fancy pants schools. But what they would do back in the day is that she would put several people at a desktop and they would have them start on their word processor. That's how long ago they started. And then they would stop and interrupt these people every few minutes for a talk, go to the bathroom, have a coffee break, whatever. And then they would study them to see how long it took them to regain their focus. And the average kept coming out to like 23 minutes. That doesn't mean they didn't go back to the task, but everybody knows what I mean. You're in the zone, you're locked in, you're cranking out a proposal, you're updating the site, whatever it is. But when somebody knocks you off, it's like opening a browser tab and then that thing is still cranking. Funny thing about that, David, is that they redo that every 5 years, and now they don't even interrupt people anymore because we self-interrupt every 2 to 3 minutes. Like when I start working on a PowerPoint slide and I'm going to do a presentation, I'll get about 3 minutes into it, and then my anxious brain says, ooh, I bet somebody DM'd you over on Facebook. You should go check it real quick. Or there's always a little interruption we give ourselves because we get uncomfortable working on one thing too long because we have no dopamine discipline. We're looking for that next hit, that red box with a white letter or white number that can let us go do something else that gives us that quick fix. But either way, dude, I'm telling you that, and I've had people kind of scoff at like, I just go right back to work. It doesn't bother me. Look, and I don't even have a way to disprove that necessarily, but it's the equivalent of saying I eat Oreos and Doritos all day, but it doesn't affect me. Yeah. Like, yeah, dude, that one I could see plain as day that it does. This one, if I could crack your skull open, I'd hate to know what I'd find.
Yeah. Yep.
But one other thing, and I won't keep you too long here, folks. I know I've probably already taken up too much of your time with the length, with how long you're listening to me. Like people have already started.
I got a quick joke for you on that one. I was preaching a sermon one time on, and the guy didn't know this was my topic, but I was guest preaching, and he stood up and talked for like a half an hour, introducing me and talking about just stuff during the week.
Yeah.
I stand up and he turned beet red when I said, today I'm talking about time management for Christians.
That's awesome.
It was a perfect intro. All right. So I interrupted you though. You go ahead.
No, dude, that's fine. What I was going to say is to leave you with something that is kind of and the term cheat code's gotten overused. I used to love the term cheat code, but batching stuff together, batching like items together has, out of all the things I've ever worked on with any of my clients, and it was one I never would have thought of, but that's like the top thing that people tell me that they learn that they still use is batching like tasks together. So if you were to pull somebody from the corporate 8 to 5 world, where they have an office and they're sending email all day, their schedule, if you look at their calendar, is every 15 minutes is a block, right? And every 15 minutes is probably something different. We'll have a sales meeting. We'll check our email. We'll check our voicemail. We'll work on the Smith project, whatever that means. And then it just da-da-da-da-da-da. And anytime somebody else comes in through email usually, and they say, I've got something new to do, you just look at your calendar, and whatever is the empty block, you take it and you drag it there. So all day long, you're doing this thing, random thing, random thing, random thing. And when I talk to people about it, they justify it and say, well, it just gives me a little variety of the day, which in theory, I do understand. However, think about if you were to clean your house. And we go through this quite a bit with a messy house of teenagers. If I want to clean my house, the most logical thing to do is one of a couple of ways. Maybe you do room by room. We'll do the kitchen first, then the living room, the bathroom. Or maybe we'll go through the entire house and we'll wipe everything down, any flat, hard surface. And then we'll go through and we'll pick up stuff off the floor. And then we'll go through and vacuum. And then we'll mop. And then we'll do the bathrooms. And then it would be insane for you to say, all right, we're going to clean the house, kids. All right. I am going to load half the dishwasher, and then I'm going to go scrub the half bath toilet, and then I'm going to go in the living room and vacuum the rug. And then you could still clean the house, but man, it'd take you 3 times as long and you would feel exhausted. But that's how we set our days up. And it doesn't make any sense. So I teach people that same concept. Your creative task for me in the morning, for you, they're at 2:00. That's when you should be batch out several of these same things together. So for me, Wednesday, Thursday afternoons are research calls, sales calls, podcast interviews. And that's the time where I'm on doing that. And then I have time blocked off for creative projects, time blocked off for administrative projects, update the spreadsheet, review the CRM. If you think about it, this is exactly the same way that athletes work, right? They've got game day, they've got practice day, and then they got a rest day. Or even a school teacher, man, they got their teaching periods. They have planning periods. They have grading periods. Ideally, a preacher would do this. A preacher would have, planning/prayer period, preaching, and then, blocks of time to meet and greet and do whatever. Unfortunately, they don't ever look like that. They look like the first one I said, where they're working 18-hour days and pulled in 15 different directions. But that's bless their heart. That's a different topic for a different day. But I'm telling you, if you can figure a little bit out of batching, man, that makes your week so much more fluid because you're not task switching. And when you task switch, how long does it take you to get back to the original point?
23 minutes.
23 minutes.
Yep.
And you're interrupting yourself every 3 to 4. We can't do that. So you got to block off and do the like tasks together.
I like it. Hey, I tell you what, as we wrap up, one thing I like to ask everybody is if you could recommend 3 resources, books, podcasts, whatever, that somebody could partake that would change their life. And it doesn't have to be just on your topic, but just like your personal favorite 3 resources.
All right. So I've already mentioned one, Deep Work by Cal Newport.
Yep. I've not read that book. You highly recommend that one?
Dude, I've read it, and reread it.
Yeah. All right. I may have to batch that one in.
Another one is 4,000 Weeks. Oh, and I can't remember the author, and I've listened to it a couple of times.
4,000 Weeks.
Yes.
Is that a person's life? Is that what that's?
Well, yeah, sorry. Yes, that's how long we get. We get 4,000 weeks, and that's it. And I say that's it. That's roughly an 80-year-old. But that talks a lot about, taking yourself out of being on autopilot, which is where we spend a lot of our time, and then the whole thing flies by us.
Yeah.
And then I know this is very self-serving, but I'm telling you, dude, if you can get anybody to contact me, I've got 2 or 3 different types of spreadsheets that you can use to kind of start tracking your time. Some are more detailed than others. I'm telling you, I'm saying that like that's mine. It's not it's not an original concept to write down where your time is going. But
Yeah.
I've tested and retested. I've got a couple I really like. If anybody wants to reach out and contact me personally, I would be happy to send it to them scot free, no opt in, no sales pitches, but it works.
Yeah. All right. Top 3 resources. And of course, on top of all that, the Bible. But that's the obvious God answer.
That's always look. I'm like, let me tell you. Yes, I want to know that people also read books. I love. We're going through my church right now is rereading the New Testament all together, like the entire year. Year before, the preacher did Revelation for a year, which bless his heart. But anytime I ask somebody and they say, and I ask them, what do they read? And they just say the Bible. I say, yeah, I know you read the Bible. What else? And then sometimes I find out people just don't read books.
Yeah. Yep. A lot of people buy books, but a lot of people don't read them.
I don't read books. But either way, yes, of course, the Bible, Proverbs would probably be the most time sensitive, the one that's most discusses most time the most, I think.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I'm one of those guys that I've got a book in every room. I'm reading 4 or 5 books at one time. Just depends on the mood and where I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. And this year, or like this year, I lied. This past 3 or 4 years, I've gotten really good or bad about listening to books.
Yeah.
Because the time I used to dedicate to reading has been replaced with journaling. Because apparently I've got a junk drawer full of nonsense in my head, and journaling gets it out of there.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So I like it, man. Sounds good. I appreciate you being here with us. And yeah, I was trying to think of a title while we were talking. It's going to be something like free up an entire workday. And because I mean, that's what people they need, they want. And sadly, a lot of them aren't willing to work for it.
Yes, it's like anything else. You have to take a couple of, you might have to take a couple of steps back to get those 3 steps forward, but it's totally doable. See entirely too many folks that have done it, taken advantage of it, and just, if nothing else, it will help your anxious brain kind of heal a little bit and let you enjoy some stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being with us, Charles.
David, I appreciate it, brother. You have a great day.
Yep. Yep.
All right. So if you're still listening, you might want to actually find the YouTube video portion of this podcast, because I want to show you something. And if you're already watching this, you can see the camera's all shaky. It's because I'm sitting here holding the laptop, rolling around the office. I've had a lot of questions over the years about the things behind my desk. And so normally you see this view right here. And so I get a lot of questions. And so what I'm going to start doing is just every now and then I'll pick an item back here and show it to you. But for now, the one that people ask about the most is Chucky, the My Buddy doll. And so this is actually, if you're as old as me, you might remember back in the 80s, early 90s, there was a thing called the My Buddy doll. That's also when the Chucky movies started. And so my mom bought this at a garage sale long time ago. I think I was in middle school. And she had so much fun with that thing, because as I grew older, she would hide it around the house. And especially when I hit the high school years and my curfew time would come in later than their bedtime, she would actually hide it before they went to bed. And so I would come home, I'd try to be all quiet and everything. Maybe I'm a few minutes late or something. And I would open the door and this little guy would fall down on me. Sometimes I would open up the freezer to get a snack. He'd be in the freezer with a bloody plastic knife in his hand. And I'll admit, I almost peed myself several times with the shenanigans my mom pulled with this guy. One time, I went on a long trip. I think it was when I went to Alaska. I lived out of my car for a few months, drove up to Alaska. My mom took him and went all around town and got pictures of him doing all kinds of stuff. She went to the Harley Davidson dealership, and I've got a photo of him on a motorcycle. I've got a photo of him with a Hooters waitress. It's pretty cool. This was so long ago, though, actually, like pictures in my hand, like, you actually have them developed. And so it's pretty cool. The interesting thing, though, this outfit, it's got the Powers name tape on it and U.S. Army and all that. This outfit I actually wore when I was that size. So that's pretty cool, too. He's absconded with one of my baby outfits. And so I continued the tradition. For many years when I worked the ambulance service, I would hide this guy all over the ambulance station and scare my coworkers half to death. It was a lot of fun. I didn't do it on many patients, although there were a couple of times I would hide him in the ambulance and forget that I hid him in the ambulance, and then I would open the cabinet and he would fall out on a patient. It would scare them, and then the heart attack would get worse, or it'd be a new heart attack because of, it's just quite a few times I got in trouble in the ambulance for my own shenanigans. But now he sits in my office and lots of people have questions about him. And occasionally, if you watch behind over my shoulder when I'm doing the podcast, you might see him move a little bit or raise his hand up and wave. So sometimes I notice it. Maybe it's just me, but one of the items from my office. All right. Y'all take care. Thanks for tuning in. And please check out next time. Be sure to stay to the end of the podcast.